We did want to also ask you a few questions about being a Kashmiri Hindu in the film industry.
Yes.
How do people interact with your Kashmiri Hindu identity in the film industry?
I never felt it. I have, you see, the best part, I'm not passing a judgment on any religion or something like that, but my parents taught me, and that's what I think this religion teaches you, that equality of people. I used to leave my house, I saw my parents doing namaste to Gurdwara also, masjid also, church also, and mandir also. So for me it was something like that. I don't think in industry anybody looked at anybody. To me, for a long time, it didn't matter who was who, because we were working with everybody. If that was the case, the three Khans would have not ruled the industry for the last 25 years, because we did not think like that. And it is not only a section of people that goes to watch their films. Everybody goes to watch a film. So, never felt it. But yes, when Kashmir Files was made, I had been wanting to tell the story as an actor, more than as an actor, as a person. Because I saw what happened for many years. We shifted to Shimla because in 1948 and 1950, again the Pakistani Qabaili used to say that they had come to Baramulla, till Baramulla, and everybody had to run. But in 1990, what happened was the exodus of Kashmiri Hindus. Nobody for 32 years talked about it. We started trending for the last 4 or 5 years on 19 January 1990. And I used to always feel very frustrated. I did make a video about it. I said, why isn't the world talking about it? Why isn't the politicians talking about it? Why is the media not talking about it? That 500,000 Kashmiri Hindus were thrown out of their houses on one particular night, including my mother's youngest brother. He had built his own home for accumulating his earnings for 23 years, and finally he made a house in Kashmir to just get a letter from the terrorists that please leave this house in the next 10 days. And when he did not leave on 11th day, his neighbor's head was in his courtyard. And then whatever he could put in a small Fiat car of his house, he did that, and he ran to Delhi, Jammu and Delhi, and died after 2 years of shock. So 32 years nobody spoke about it. That was so sad. Just because the community is very resilient, the community does not believe in violence or any bitterness about it. They went, and so many Kashmiri Hindus are working so well in states and other parts of the world. So that is why when I acted in the film, how many of you have seen Kashmir Files, by the way? Thank you. When I work, it is not the actor only who is talking about it. I felt that I have the burden of and the responsibility of portraying my character to the utmost sincerity and truth, representing those 500,000 people. So that was what was important. Every shot I was giving during the scene and after the scene, I used to cry bitterly. Yes.
And when you were speaking of your father, I remember him. And through that character and portraying his father, Mr. Anupam Kher, I think personally for me, you have done justice to my ancestors who come from Lahore and Peshawar, who have had to go through similar experiences, and to all our ancestors who hail from the Mugland area, who have suffered so much for us to be here. And I thank you because through your art, you made sure that truth pierces our soul. Can we have a round of applause?
Sometimes, but I just feel that very strongly about it. So, anyway, Let's talk about it. So, no, we should talk about this. So, what is important is, and then to have this people with agenda and saying that the film was made for an agenda or made is a lie. It's so not even frustrating. It's not even demeaning. It's not even. It's just that you feel it is such a where have we reached? The people who lost their parents, who lost their families, who lost, women were raped and children were sort of killed. You know that in that there is a sequence where we are sitting in a truck and we suddenly see that those two people hanging.
Yes.
So we were shooting in Dehradun for that, but all those portions were shot in Dehradun. And this lady sitting next to me was crying, and they were all Kashmiri. They had gathered Kashmiri Hindus to do the extras roles, to bring in the authenticity. And we were all sitting, we were talking the whole day, and we were a little somber because the topic was like that. And when we were doing that scene, it was a static truck, it was not moving as it was shown in the film, because that was added later. And she started howling loudly, and I said, what happened? He said, this gentleman was my cousin brother. The one who was Premi, Mr. Premi. So I think it's important to speak up. It's important to become unpopular. I'm not a very popular person among a section of people. But my problem is, my strength is that I will not let you decide how I tell my tragedy to the world. You cannot, I don't want to be popular with me. And when we talk about terrorism, it has affected all religions. It has not affected only Hindus. It has affected Muslims, it has affected Christians, it has affected Sikhs, it has affected everything. So when we talk about terrorism, to make you feel defensive, they say you are talking about a particular section of people. To keep you, to shut you up, to sort of, but that's not truth. In Pakistan, 145 children were killed by terrorists. 145 school boys and girls. I wrote a letter to the open letter in Dawn paper about this whole thing. Because terrorism is the problem, not a section of people. And it's important to tell stories. It's important, I always tell, please ask your parents, what are their stories? Not necessarily if they have been victimized, just tell them your stories. You, sir, you should tell your stories to your children. 90% of you did not even know this happened in our own country. How many of you knew about that this was happening in Kashmir? Much before this film came up, but not to this extent. What you see in the film is 5%. So, don't make me feel defensive if I am talking about Hinduism. Because when I am talking about Hinduism, I am not talking against your religion. I am just saying that I have been brought up by mantra uchcharan. मैं अब क्या करूँ मेरे मतलब मैं पैदा उस घर में हुआ जहाँ ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः सरस्वती माँ भागी विद्या खमरोचनी वेश रूपी वेश वाला की विद्याधिमति सरस्वती शारदा च मुख्य दाता सरस्वती नमस्तस्य नमस्तस्य. अब इसमें तो मैं इस माहौल में मैं बड़ा हूँ, क्या करूँ मैं? मेरे को बताया गया है, मेरे माँ बाप ने मुझे सिखाया कि बेटा सुबह उठ के आरती करते हैं, शाम को जाप करते हैं. और मेरे माँ बाप ने और मेरे पुराणों ने भी अपने हमारे गीता में भी लिखा है, रामायण में भी उन्होंने सिखाया कि हर एक को बराबर की इज्जत दो, और हम देते हैं. But don't make me feel defensive for saying things on my behalf, because though you can't do that, I will not allow you to do that. Even if I am the only man standing alone, I will still fight for truth, because I will be popular with myself and be popular with the rest of the world.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.